Good morning. I know it's been a little while since I made a video, but everything is gotten a little busy since I started doing caps and stuff. And so today I have a little time because I'm actually waiting for an order to come in, and they don't start, my orders for caps and supplies and things like that don't start coming in until Friday. So I have some things to work on today. Not everything that I want to, obviously, because I don't have my supplies with me. But so today I actually just kind of want to take you through my day. It's a little bit of a quieter day. I'm going to recalibrate some of my needles here on Nena, and Nena is my multi-needle MELCO EMT16X. So there are some videos on the MELCO site that show you how to recalibrate the needles, and I will be using that, which I've already seen that, so I know how to do it. But if you need it to, you can go for more detail. I'm just going to kind of run you through that. Yesterday, I actually had a visor that I was doing okay, so since I've started embroidering, it's a learning process. It's the whole way through. When you start doing new items, it's a learning process, new settings, things like that. So I did a visor yesterday, and that visor defeated me. Like, I've not had an item actually where I just screwed it up and it was like, usually you can go back and change the settings and then take your item, maybe pluck out some of the embroidery and start over. I broke, I don't know how many needles, even titanium needles, and what it was is that gap will break your needles. And maybe I had it lifted like to a 4 clicks up. Usually you just need like 2-3 clicks on a regular cap, but I was thinking maybe I can increase the height of the pressure. Maybe I can increase the height of the pressure foot next time, and that will fix that problem. But since I got the broken needles, I feel like I need to put realign all the needles, recalibrate them, just to make sure it's running smoothly. So that's what I'm going to do. I have something else that I'm doing today is I have a new digitizer. Well, I actually don't have a new digitizer. I have an additional digitizer. I don't want to make my main digitizer a little annoyed or whatever, but I am, I guess, interviewing for a new or an additional digitizer. Sometimes I usually like to have 2 or 3, just in case, one is not able to do the job for whatever reasons, on vacation or sick or something like that. I like to have a backup digitizer or 2 people that I can really rely on that do really good work. And so today I got my first, or yesterday he sent me the file, but I gave him a job to do to kind of test his skills. And it was kind of I feel like it is a little bit challenging. It's a little bit of a difficult job, so it'll kind of showcase his skills. So that's what I'm doing today. I am doing a test sew out for his file to see how that comes out, to see if he is a digitizer that I will like to, continue working with in the future. So I don't see many of those type of videos on YouTube talking too much or talking in depth about digitizers. So I want to do a little bit of that today. So should we get started? And this is the type of maintenance that you're gonna want to do if you're getting like a lot of needle breaks or thread breaks. This is part of the troubleshooting. This looks a little like it's too much to the left. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to bring my needle back up. And the thing that sucks about this is that you have to rethread the needles again, sort of, but it's okay, it's not too bad. But I'm gonna bring my needle up again, and I am going to move my needle slightly. If you heard that noise, that was the needle moving slightly to the right. So I'm going to bring it back down again, and I'm going to check it again. Okay, that looks a little closer to where it needs to be. I think that might be it. Let me look and see. I'm going to adjust it one more time and see how that looks. If not, I'm going to put it back. Okay, we're going to drop it again. Okay, that actually I think looks even better. I think that's centered a little bit better. So we are going to bring it back up, and we're going to do the same with all the needles just to make sure that they're all aligned, so that when you're sewing, you know, they're all aligned properly. And this is, I know I'm not showing you the buttons on the keypad that you need to use in order to do this. Remember that you do have to be in the more advanced interface to actually operate the machine in this way using the keypad. But there is a MELCO video, a YouTube video that shows you how to calibrate the needles, and I'm gonna go ahead and link it down below so you can actually see like which keys that you need to be pushing in order to do what I'm doing. Okay, so on to the rest of the needles. I'm just showing you, like, I don't have the best eyesight, and it may be hard to tell if these needles are centered properly. And even but just a quick little tip, you can actually use your cell phone camera to see a lot better. I'm gonna drop this and I'm just gonna show you. You can see it in there, and these have slight movements. I feel like that is just off a little bit to the left. So let me see. Okay. So I'm gonna go in and I am going to adjust it. If it looks a little bit too far to the right, then I'll go back up and adjust it again. So I'm gonna bring the needle up and make a small adjustment, bring it back down and check it now. I think that looks okay. If you're having trouble seeing, these actually get up pretty close. So just make sure you have the camera aligned right in front of the needle so it's not at a weird angle either. Welcome back to my desk. I'm actually filming this on a different day as from when I originally started making the video. I was not able to actually get a sew out complete for that day because I had so many issues with the file. I don't want to, I'm not gonna put the digitizer's name out there. I don't want to bring him any kind of negativity or anything like that. And the issue was actually resolved between us in a very professional way. He ended up refunding me because the file did not turn out the way it should have. What happens is I will send a picture of the original image that I want digitized, and then what happens is they'll usually send you a picture back of what it looks like digitized, and I'll take my little digital pen and I will start circling or highlighting parts of that picture that they sent me that I think needs correction. So that's what happened, and I did that about 4 times. I'm gonna look at my computer so I can look at the conversation that he and I had, and I'll probably try to include some of those pictures somewhere around here so you can follow along. But originally when he sent me the artwork back, it was not centered properly. So I sent him a picture and I asked him if he can center it. A few hours later, he does center it. And then, let's see, I spot something else on the artwork where one side looks a little different. than the other side. So I circle it and asked him if he could make it look like the other side, basically, so it's symmetrical. So he comes back, and what he does is he instead of filling in, and maybe I should have specified, but instead of filling in what that side I circled with similar thread, he goes and he kind of just removes that piece of the artwork altogether and just kind of fills it in with background thread, which was purple. So I tell him that that's not, you know, how I wanted it. I tell him that it needs to look symmetrical like the other side, if he can make it look similar. So he did that. He sends it back to me again, and let's see what happens here. The reason it wasn't even because there was this little thing that was hanging out over on the right side, and he took it off. And I thought it was odd, or it might look odd, but when the digitizer originally sends you artwork and in picture form and it looks one way, sometimes it might come out looking really cool when you sew it out. So I thought that would happen, and I went ahead and I did my sew out, and it did not come out nice. Okay, so there are some, I'm going to show it to you. There are some things to appreciate about this work. I'm not going to say it's all bad, because I actually don't even think it's bad. You know, I don't know what was going on with some of this artwork here. I'm going to show you. And you know, it actually doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look bad. There are some things to appreciate. I do like the density. I do like, you know, some of the words and the way the coloring is. I don't understand why these empty spaces are like that. I don't understand what this purple piece is doing here. You know, so after I did the sew out, I just really had no more time to give him. And I told him, I didn't ask for a refund, but I told him that my main digitizer would go ahead and do the work. And, you know, I just didn't have any time to deal with it anymore. And on top of that, when I did ask for the edits, he took a while to get back to me. So that was, you know, if I have plenty of time, I do understand that some digitizers are really busy, you know, so I'm not going to expect you to get back to me right away, but this was, it took him a while, maybe a few hours every time to get back to me. And that's probably not even that bad of a time frame, but when you have another digitizer who gets back to you in a few minutes with edits, you know, it's different. It's not really an expectation that I have that you know, must get back to me, you know, within a few minutes or anything like that. But it is kind of nice when that does happen. You know, I do understand that digitizers, when you're really busy, you don't have, you know, a whole lot of time to focus on one customer's artwork. But, you know, if I have extra time to give to you, then that's usually not an issue. So what happened was my main digitizer, he noticed, I guess I made some posts about this situation on social media. I hadn't actually reached out to him yet, but in the process of the situation, he reached out to me and he asked me if everything was okay, if I needed help, which is wonderful. And I wanted to, for the sake of this video, I actually just kind of wanted to complete the process with the new digitizer. So I told him no, but once I went ahead and closed the job and did the sew out for that digitizer, I let my main digitizer, which his name is Sebastian, as a lot of you probably already know, I let him take over the artwork, and he started it the next day, and he finished it the same day. And he's really busy. He kind of really helped me out. I was on a serious time crunch after I spent so much time with the other digitizer, and with him, he knows one thing that you're going to want with if you have a digitizer that you're working with often is obviously a good working relationship. So usually I'm gonna have, you know, edits that I want to send back. Like I get the sew out, and usually there's things that I see that, you know, can be like maybe improved or fixed. So when I send them back to him, he already probably expects that from me, and he usually gets it done like really quickly. Like I'll send him something, I'll take my little digital pen, circle it, and then send it back to him. And maybe a few minutes later, if he's not too busy, sometimes less than 5 minutes, you know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. If he's really busy, maybe an hour or something, you know, usually that's not the case, but he'll correct it and send it right back to me. If I see something else, and usually I'll just come back with, you know what, he actually tolerates me. I'll just say that he tolerates me, and maybe me looking for an additional digitizer isn't gonna work. So I don't know. This video actually kind of unexpectedly turned into like Battle of the Digitizers. Every digitizer is going to have a different way they do things, and it's really up to you to, you know, I mean, I work well with Sebastian. Other people might not work well with Sebastian. I couldn't imagine why. He's pretty cool actually, but you know, the digitizer that I just was working with, it didn't work out. He might work well with a ton of other people. Maybe it's just me and him don't click well, but that's one important thing. I think that probably the most important thing in looking for a digitizer is the working relationship, like how you work with that person. But yeah, let's go into looking at the conversation that me and Sebastian had. Okay. So I just want you to see this conversation that I'm having between me and my digitizer, just so you can get an idea of what goes on when you have, I guess, a digitizer. This conversation, I'm looking back, started at about 9:48 in the evening, so it was pretty late actually. And this was the first picture that he sent me of how it's gonna look. So, you know, of course I got to say something about it. I said it looks like it's missing the backing in the letters, which is the coloring and stuff. So we're just having a conversation. He said it would be wider, which is fine with me. I don't mind that it's wider. So I just told him it's not as colorful as the artwork, and I wanted some aqua color. He sends me a picture. He added some aqua color. Okay, I like that. And then I said, I feel like there's a lot of empty space in the back of the letters and the tiger. And I go and I circle it for him of the places, if you can see these red marks here. And I tell him that these are the spaces that I want colored in. He shows me the original artwork. We're kind of just having a discussion about that. And so he changed it for me again. Send a picture back. And this goes on, I don't know, for a few minutes. It's not very long at all. I think we finished up sometime after 10 o'clock. But yeah, he goes back and works on it. And then this, and honestly, it was a little bit sooner, but I say like, okay, like finally I'm happy with the artwork. And this is all the time that we're usually working on art pieces. So I say, okay, I'm happy now. And here's his response to me, like, finally, she's happy. And then he sends me the file. And when he sends me the file like this, it actually automatically opens in Design Shop, or even on Embroidery, if you have Embroidery, once you click on it and open it, which is great. I'm happy, you're the best. And then he said, who's happy? And this girl. Okay, so that artwork on the cap is Sebastian's work, obviously, and that is the end result of that. With this video, it kind of highlighted the difference between digitizers. One digitizer style versus another digitizer's style. So I'm looking at my notes because I made some points here about things that you might want to look for when you are searching for a digitizer. And this is just for me. Hopefully I'm not leaving anything out. You might look at other embroiderers and they might have other, things that they look for. But one, of course, obviously, I think every digitizer is the skill set, the skills that they have. The quality of your design, your sew out, the way it sews out is going to depend on the skills of your digitizer. Another thing is turnaround time. In this case, you kind of saw that the turnaround time, the difference in turnaround time between one digitizer and another. And a lot of times, if you get your artwork, sometimes we don't have the luxury of having artwork ahead of time. Sometimes we are on a time crunch because maybe the customer needs it at a certain amount of time and they got it to us late. Really not our fault. If you don't have a digitizer that can do a quick turnaround, that's not, if you can, good. If you can't, then it's not really our fault. The customer is getting you the artwork late. But yeah, it really helps if you have digitizers that you can depend on, that might, when you are on a time crunch, that might be able to get you that fast turnaround time. And a lot of times, like in my situation, I kept having issues with the file. So what's happening, it went into, I guess, day 2. And then, I spent 2 days with that, having issues with that file. And then I wasn't able to use it. So what that does now is you kind of start to maybe push back your other jobs. You're running late on this one. So those are things to consider. That's something else that's very important to consider also. One is just the obvious, a good working relationship with your digitizer. You kind of start to get to know each other, and you know what to expect from them and they know what to expect from you, and good communication and all of that stuff. So obviously, you can't, it's digitizing. If you want to produce good embroidery, you can use regular standard files. That's fine. But when you're coming up with original designs and things like that, the digitizer and the embroidery, it's a team effort. Unless you're an embroiderer who digitizes your own work, then you're a one woman, one man show, one person show. So you don't have to worry about having making a team with a digitizer. But for me, I have digitizers. It's more cost effective and it's going to take me a long time to learn digitizing. So I use digitizers for right now. It's more convenient because, I'm kind of moving off subject a little, but I know some people have questions about should they digitize. That's really a personal preference. That's up to you. For me, it's not feasible really because digitizing takes work. So if I have a large order to get out and I'm also digitizing files, sometimes that can take a couple of hours for each file. Like, how much product am I not embroidering and getting out because I'm doing digitizing? It's a lot better if I have someone else focus on that and I can just focus strictly on embroidery. But where was I with that? Yes, teamwork. Digitizing, you cannot have, first of all, a good digitized file is a foundation, period. Like, no matter how good your embroidery skills are, you really can't, if a file is digitized poorly, you cannot, there's nothing you can do to really make that, look good. So you need a good digitizer on one end and you need a good embroiderer on the other end to set up the file properly on the machine, in the hoop, put the proper settings. You can have a good digitized file, but then if the embroiderer on the other end is not setting things up the way they need to be set up, it might come out like a hot mess. And I've actually had that happen, sort of. Sebastian, I was having a problem with the file, and it was not on his end, it was on my end. I needed to, get my settings right and stuff. So that can happen too. something to keep in mind. Another thing is price. Price is actually just going to depend on, it's going to be a personal thing, your own budget. Something obviously you need to communicate with your digitizer, so that's something that of course you need to consider as well. How they respond to corrections, that's a big one. Like I said, my digitizer, pretty much he tolerates me. So I am usually one of those people, you can see from our chat, where I'm like wanting edits, you know, can you add this? Can you remove that? Can you change this? Can you resize that? And my Sebastian, he has no problem doing any of that stuff for me. He does it all the time with no complaining. He usually does it quickly. So that's another thing, how they respond to, you know, if you have an edit that you want to make, how they respond to it, the turnaround time for that. That's something else. When do you need a digitizer? Well, technically you actually don't need a digitizer. If you're purchasing files from online, you can actually, you know, just, if you're doing a hobby or a business, you can strictly just work off of files that you purchased online. For me, I do like stuff that is mostly original, and I usually like to come up with my own little designs and things like that. So that's when, I mean, obviously there are no existing embroidery files with the designs that I have in my head, so that's why I mostly use a digitizer. Sometimes I do purchase files online and I use those as well, but most of the time, like at least 70% of the time, I'm using a digitizer. And you want to use a digitizer usually when you have logos, like personal company logos that you need to do like apparel for, or again, you know, for your own personal designs that you want to turn into an embroidery file. Let's see, a customer that you have, they bring in artwork and ask you if you can get it done, and yes, you have a digitizer, you can get that original piece of artwork digitized and embroidered onto whatever they want it embroidered on. Let's see what else. Like I said, I do purchase files. When you purchase files, you have to find a good site to purchase from, because a lot of times though, you have to be careful. A lot of the files that you do purchase online, like even on Etsy, they come out to be terrible, and sometimes they turn out to be really good. It's kind of, you just don't really know. But for me, if I don't want to take the risk, if, you know, sometimes I've seen files and I'm thinking to myself, well, you know what, let me go ahead and let me create a similar file to that, because I don't trust the quality of it. So I will turn around and have it digitized also. So for me, that's just ensuring the quality. Even though you can find, you know, the same files or similar files online, I want to make sure that the quality is there for sure. So that's when I digitize. Well, guys, that is it for today's video. That was just pretty much, I guess, my work day that day, because this is obviously a different day. Recalibrating the needles, that was part of it. And then also, obviously, the big one was the digitizers. I hope that you guys with digitizing questions, I see a lot of digitizing questions. I hope that you learned something from this video. If you have any questions, I will try to answer the questions if you leave them down in the comments. Some of you know me on Facebook. You can inbox me, that might even be better, and I'll try to answer your questions about digitizers or any questions that you might have that I'm able to answer. And if I'm not able to answer, I know a bunch of people in the embroidery world that should be able to help you. I can direct you as well. But that's it. Have a great day, everyone. Enjoy your morning, and that's it. Bye.